Welcome to Talk Fair on Air, a LinkedIn live event hosted by BureauWorks, the show where AI and innovative unconventional thinkers take center stage. I'm your host, Viveta Jean, AI language solution specialist, and today we have with us a professional with a wealth of experience in the language industry. We are honored to have Bridget Hylack join us. Bridget is a chief industry strategist, language technology consultant, and Bridget, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Welcome to the show. And we want to learn everything about you and your journey.
Oh, no, you don't. But I'll give you the good stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, starting out with my background, is that what you're asking me? Wow. Very briefly, I think I have been a linguist my whole life. It's just a frustrated linguist. I got into I'm very interested in languages at a young age, not because I lived in a bilingual home, but because my parents actually were divorced and my father married someone who spoke Spanish. And I visited him on occasion, and I would be extremely frustrated because he was trying to learn some Spanish, and I could tell that they were just talking about me sometimes. It probably was all good, but it frustrated me so bad that I went home and I started just watching Spanish TV, at the age of 10. And I think I started understanding it by the time I was 12. I was working on my accent. I used to kind of frustrate my mom because I couldn't roll my R's like the rrr. So I remember looking in windows and mirrors and trying to get that roll. And so I used to kind of, let's say, spit all over the windows, then the mirrors. My mom wasn't happy with that. But one day that R came out and it was all uphill from there. So, and I just have been studying languages my whole life. I went to Stanford University, majored in a couple of languages, including Russian. People don't really know that. Love Russian as a language, love Portuguese. I had a Portuguese boyfriend that kind of helped. And I find my very favorite thing to do is to read bilingual dictionaries, picture dictionaries, high level picture dictionaries, even to this day. So there's something in there I just can't get away from when it comes to the language industry.
Amazing. And it's very fascinating how personal stuff merge with professional stuff and
It
how
is.
these interact.
It really is. And how anything can influence you, and it just became a hunger. It was something I had to do. And I loved a lot of subjects. I thought I was going into pre-med at Stanford, and just kept going back to those language classes. And like I said, it just kept calling me home. So.
And what happened next?
So what happened next is that I actually, during my 4 years at Stanford, I had gotten an internship on the East Coast. So I left Stanford for a semester, and I interned at the Organization of American States, which is la OEA, Organización de Estados Americanos, for those of us who are familiar. It is a division of the United Nations, and I became an editor there, even as an intern. And my boss there was a phenomenal. I mean, I was surrounded by multilingual everyone. The highest level interpreters became my best friends. I was just extremely in my element there. And after that 6-month internship, my boss said, we need you to come back here right after you graduate. It was a year before I was graduating, year and a half. So I did get a letter during that period where, literally one day after graduation, I flew to the East Coast and I started my work as an interpreter and a linguist on that level in the press division of the OAS.
Great. And now you are a chief industry strategist. So how do you feel about it? Would you have imagined that today you would be a chief industry strategist?
I really think it was just all an organic evolution. When you love something, I have been in this industry from day one. I have seen the ups and downs. I've seen the chapters when we've gone through things like we are now with AI, when people start freaking out because they think, oh no, we're out of here, we're going to be replaced. I feel like there's nothing further from the truth. This is simply business, right? We can all give an opinion of how we feel about anything. But when it comes to business, have those conversations with your friends, and then, realize this has nothing to do with how you feel. It has everything to do with, creating what you might have as a legacy, or inspiring an industry, right? ROI, how do we bring value to our clients? Our clients don't care how we feel about the changes in our industry. They want us just to do our best by them and to present the best solutions to them so that they can in turn serve their clients or their constituents, their customers as best as possible. And so what I think is it just was a natural growth through all of the levels of the technology changes that have occurred in the industry. Then I really began studying how different tools work, and why, and what's good for what situation. And I began mentoring people, which is something I really love to do. And it's been lately quite a successful endeavor. We're excited that today Slater announced 50 under 50, and 3 people that I mentor. Devin Ori from LingoPal, which is a phenomenal AI interpreting solution. He's on that list. Veronica Hilak, my daughter, is on that list. There's a third individual I mentor on that list. And I have a lot of other people I'm mentoring that I think will be on the list next year. It's just a real, I think it's just a matter of loving what you do and wanting to share it. I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's more than that, to be very honest. It's just loving what you do and wanting to share it. In a sense, it's like teaching. So, and it's exciting to do it when people are younger and don't kind of have a sense of the full scope of the industry. And you can really take them from 0 to 100, in a year, as opposed to them doing it the hard way, which a lot of us do. And that's, unfortunately, we don't have mentors. So I do recommend that, by the way. Anyone who doesn't have a mentor, find somebody. A lot of us are willing to do that for people, even just, on the side, as much as we can manage as a voluntary effort. I think it's so important. It really takes you far. I used to always tell my kids that if you are smart, you learn from your mistakes. But if you are brilliant, you learn from other people's mistakes. And so what better than a mentor to tell you, well, this company did this and this is what happened, and that's why we don't want to do that. This company's trying that and this is what's happening, and that's why we don't want to do that. So that's what the value a mentor can bring. And as an industry strategist, I think of it as mentoring.
This is very important, and thank you for sharing. And this is exactly what I meant in the post when I was saying join us because it is Bridget and because of the human aspect, because mentoring is very important and it's not something that we take for granted. Not many people can become mentors, or they are willing to become mentors or to share their expertise. Some people feel like being like stealing something from them when mentoring. So it's really important. And you also mentioned AI and this topic and the relationships with clients. So can you share insights into how AI is revolutionizing the localization process and its implications for translators and language professionals?
Yes, I think, if we are going to talk about revolutionizing our industry right now in any way, I think the key to all of it, and this isn't just me saying this, everybody's very, this has been mentioned, but the key to all of it is data. We are becoming like about data. What's really interesting to me is kind of something that's almost counterintuitive, and that is how Gen AI holds promise to really level the playing field a bit for low resource languages. A lot of people are saying that low resource languages are falling behind because there's less data to work with and all that. And that is true. But I think thanks to a lot of phenomenal initiatives out there that date back many years, people were very proactive about this. I really don't think that curve is going to be as steep as some people might think. So you have initiatives, for example, like TAUS, the HLP, the Human Language Project, that is doing some real grassroots work collecting low resource language data via purchase order, which is a novel approach to it, but it's a smart approach. And some of their obstacles are very basic, like just access, computer access, internet access, and some of the areas that they're trying to gather this data from. But they're being overcome. I actually read a thesis. Actually, it was my son just did a master's thesis in low resource languages and was privileged to be have Simona Beccaletto of Taos interview with him and mentioned some of these very basic issues, but they are ones that Taos is finding ways to overcome. Now, if you look at data on other levels, TransPerfect is the world's largest LSP. And they've now redirected their efforts toward AI data solutions, which include data collection, data annotation, localizing chatbots, et cetera, all under the Dataforce brand name. So Dataforce is like a diverse worldwide network of over 1 million data contributors, scientists, engineers. It's like mind-boggling. Microsoft's Project Allura focuses on Indian languages. Google had released MadLab 400. It's a low resource language data set. You have Meta's No Language Left Behind. And the point here is, first of all, I'm excited about it as a DEI consultant that low resource languages are getting a lot of attention. And then as linguists, we need to realize that all of this data needs to be validated. I mean, the quality of data is such a premium right now, and humans, especially those who are linguistically talented in nuance, in register, and like innuendo, those types of skills are really what's making this next chapter and this making humans so important in this next chapter. That doesn't mean we won't be translating. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, but this revolutionizing of the industry, I think it really is all about the data.
It is a big transition to talk instead of words about data, and
Right.
this needs time to be digested
Yes.
in a way. But also, what you said is a very real perspective of things, meaning that we now have, with what you said, something real that is going to happen, new jobs coming up, and the translators,
right,
whatever they are called, they are useful. Their skills, their intelligence are really useful in this new AI era. And I think we talked enough about AI and this very hard topic. Now, can you reflect on a particularly challenging moment in your career and the valuable lessons you gained from it, especially concerning the integration of AI into translation workflows?
Yeah, I think the challenges are helping our clients to get comfortable with this new frontier. I say this frequently. We have a hidden industry. People really, it's not something anyone even really knows exists, right? People see the subtitles on movies. They don't know how the heck they got there. There's like elves at the North Pole doing that or something. You go to the doctor's office and you have a brochure in a few languages. People have no clue how did that get there or why is it even there? So we are such a hidden industry that I always say, prepare to spend a lot, if not half of your time in the business of educating your clients. And education is another word for marketing. It's another word for communicating. It's another word for connecting. I like to think of it as connecting, because when you connect, you do make those great long-lasting accounts, those connections. It's something I love about the BWX culture. I feel it. Like, you guys have a family, a love, a passion. You're brilliant, leaders. And it is just something that has really attracted me to just the culture that you're promoting. But I think this whole education aspect is really essential. So as you know, what we first do to counter these challenges is we really make sure that when we propose a solution to a client, that it is a really well vetted solution. You know, I don't like choose to be an industry strategist for a company like LingoPal or Metalinguist because I want to help necessarily. Once it's a company involved, I have to know that that solution is really viable, that it's well vetted, and then confident enough that I know that a live demo is going to impress that client. And so, for a specific example, for the longest time, we were dealing with the challenge of how to supply massive numbers of interpreters, certified interpreters, like, I mean, over 100 or 200 at a time, into school settings on short notice for various purposes. And, you know, while a human interpreter is always our first recommendation for many cases, sometimes the volume is just not there. Or in the case of schools, the background checks, you know, are lacking. They're very stringent with 3 different types of background checks that need to be in order to go into a school. So we partnered with a technology that allowed us to supply our own interpreters on demand from their home offices right into the schools via VRI. And it was super hard to get clients on board with that, you know, even though it eliminated the problem of background checks since the interpreters would be coming in virtual. Long story short, with education, convincing these clients, believing in this solution that it would really help, we were able to get a lot of clients to adopt this solution. And now the ones that are in that category are self-sufficient with it. They love it. They prefer it. But it just took time to get them to take that first bite. So I think you have to be, like I said, believe in whatever you're offering, and then be willing to put the time in.
And yeah, education is really important from all aspects and in all domains. And we try to educate clients, LSPs, translators, everyone around. And by saying that, I would ask you, with your extensive experience, and I will touch on a topic that I face every day. Like there is, a gap between LSPs and translators. And instead of seeing us together, we see us a little bit apart. So, what advice would you give to LSPs and translators seeking to navigate this digital and AI era?
Well, I like to encourage linguists, especially right now, to consider how to grab the reins and kind of be able to take more control over their future, because I know that linguists are, unfortunately, I think, underpaid. We're underpaid. I think I bring up frequently the 2 sides of our industry. It seems like a split between the language industry side and then the technology localization industry side. And we really need to take more of a leading role in our bottom line. That means, in many cases, choosing to work for end clients, to pivot our business model so that we can, if we're a freelancer, we could become a small LSP. You can even do that by partnering with other colleagues of yours. Maybe you currently only work in one language, but I'm sure you have some friends who work in others. So become a small LSP that you can offer 5 languages, 10 languages or something. And then for small LSPs, you know, there are so many different ways to expand services beyond just translation, like the data analysis that we were talking about. Interpreting, even in and of itself, many translation companies don't bother with interpreting. Why not? It's sometimes becomes a phenomenal backdoor into a translation client. And so offering interpreting services is a really good way to balance out your service offerings. I think we have to be confident in the value that we bring, confident in that value. And I do think our industry we have quite a lot with such talent in this industry. And yet I feel like I've noticed a trend of almost like that we don't fully understand our worth, right? We're kind of used to taking whatever cents per word people say that they'll pay us, instead of saying, you know what, heck, I can't do it for that, right? I'm worth this much more. Or you have a certain background, you know that you're more valuable than an entry level price of a linguist that has little experience and is maybe leveraging technology. So I think absolutely knowing your worth is really important, and then coming up with a model that can support and promote your work, whether it's with or without other colleagues. And I know Slater recently said that the future, linguists are being asked to do more for less money, and that the only solution is to work with end clients moving forward. I don't want to say go out and reject all of those big LSPs, but the ones that aren't treating you right, or the ones that aren't, they're taking advantage of very high level professional skills, you can live without those. And, find some good LSPs and or make yourself an LSP. And I think that's a solution for right now. And everything isn't going to be 10 years lasting. We don't know. But for right now, I think that's a really good solution.
This was really balanced, and you gave a solution for LSPs to look ahead at the future, and for translators to make their choices, to choose their friends. And
Right.
this is really important, instead of having all this negativity about LSPs. And by the way, I had a comment in one of my posts that, and it was very correct, that freelancers are LSPs, language service providers.
Yeah.
So there's nothing there, to
Right.
split. It's We are a community, all of us. And
Yes.
talking about balance, Bridget, balancing professional commitments and personal well-being is crucial. How do you manage this balance?
Well, I have to say that I learned that a bit late. I've been, a working mom and a caregiver to my own mom, my whole life, and that really takes a toll. And at the same time, the industry never felt like work to me, even if it was 12 hours, 14 hours, days sometimes in the initial businesses that I was founding, because I told you I am like that quintessential word nerd. So um, I think what I would do is for right now, as I grew older, I realized the essential need for me to take 60 to 90 minutes every single morning, whether I have to get up earlier because I have a meeting or whatever, 60 to 90 minutes to pray, to meditate, do some form of stretching. It is challenging some days. I do have some physical and other limitations, but I still commit to that because I find it's fuel. It is really fuel to me. And I don't actually know how to manage without it. So a bit of advice for anyone in their 20s and 30s, when you think you're totally invincible, start making it self-care a really important part of your day. And when you feel like you need a break, take that break. And I like laying on the floor when I feel like I need a break, right? Just on a flat floor. It does something to me. I don't know. Maybe it's that earthing thing, the grounding, but we spend so much time behind electronics that I just take the break when I need it.
This is of very high importance, and we all encounter the same challenge of balance, of going back to our nature and feel the nature of the human body, let's say.
Yeah.
And along with balance, we have another topic, which is diversity and inclusion, uh, which are essential aspects of our industry. How do you think that we can incorporate diversity and inclusion principles into our work, particularly concerning AI-driven language technology?
Well, so good of a question. I want to really thank you for this one. I've just started meeting with a group of DEI, accessibility, and ageism promoters and experts. We are actually in the organizational stages of forming this kind of task force with the likes of Holly Silvestri and Rafael Trevino from the State Department. we're discussing just this, how to bring DEI to our industry, because first of all, we're talking business. It's an income stream. And it may seem, okay, politically incorrect to say that, but if you're talking business, anything that is mandated has money behind it. And DEI is mandated. And so it is an income stream for us. It's important to recognize that. And also, we're working on how to bring our industry into the DEI and accessibility community. There's a lot on the table there from so many angles. We all know this needs doing, and anyone who might be interested in working on this, please contact me. But basically, I think this is a breakout moment for final frontier localization strategies, the least of the least, the most marginalized. We're at a moment where we can localize down to every last person, as the case may be. That is what AI is really bringing to the table, like this utopian localize the world kind of thing. And I heard someone recently, I think it was Spence Green of Lilt, that said, translate everything. It wasn't an interview he had given, and he was like, translate everything. We need to translate everything. And I personally, coming from the DEI, I see his point for sure from what he was talking about, but coming from the DEI perspective, I had this sense like, really, like, why? Because if we translate everything, I think for one, we still have to maintain some form of culture. Culture's so rich and valuable and important. We don't all want to have to know everything about every single person. You may not need to translate a school manual from a school in Bangkok into Russian, for example. We probably don't need to translate everything. And so what at the end of the day, most people are just concerned with their living needs, their family, and local recreation. So that's how we live. So I say, especially coming from the DEI and accessibility background, translate everything that makes people's lives richer, translate everything that gives people an economic advantage or access, or that opens up doors or opportunities for them. And so I think, it's basically just how I look at what brings value is what I would say when it comes to translating. And when you really look at DEI and how it actually seeks to open doors for people who can't get into certain places, that's kind of where I come from when I'm realizing how powerful DEI is and what a big component, what actually a big role that we have to play in that conversation. And it's interesting too, because these laws are different from country to country. If you analyze accessibility laws from country to country, they're very interesting. That in itself is a topic for another thesis, but it's just it's really interesting. And I do think, though, it's important to recognize this is a part of what we should do and can do as linguists.
Very important. Translate less, but of highest value,
right,
in a way.
That's right. That's kind of what I was more kind of digesting it that way.
And as AI technology continues to advance, there is this ethical part, which becomes really important. How do you deal with ethical challenges in the implementation of AI in translation and localization processes?
So people always ask me all the time, how do you use AI, right? When I'm speaking somewhere, they're like, how do you use it? And I'm like, well, first of all, very carefully, right? Right now, it's all still evolving. We're all using it a little different than we used it last year, right? We're going to use it different next year from how we use it now. We need to know the laws, right? We need to study those laws. We want to also become part of influencing these laws. I am actually really concerned ethically about fake news, and how this information, we live in this world where, there's a complete dichotomy sometimes between what people say the truth is. And I'm concerned about how this could be influencing, like the outputs of ChatGPT or Gemini to people who don't know better, or don't even know to question the output. I'm concerned about a future world where we rely on this stuff like it's God, and it's not. It's an amalgam of tokens of data that represent a lot of fact, a lot of opinion, even a lot of bias. So I think this parent-child kind of dynamic is one that I like to keep in mind when I'm working with AI. Like, I'm the parent. The same goes for our industry. We are needed to be the parents of AI when it comes to how it is being used within our platforms. We, as experts, actually are more valuable than before because we can weed out those cognates, false cognates. We can weed out the innuendo that might have gone wrong. We will be able to identify where AI is messing up. And I think the other part that concerns me ethically is AI and other language technologies in the hands of inexperienced linguists, people who think they're linguists, maybe they're bilingual, wonderful, but people who do not have the experience and leveraging these technologies and thinking like, wow, I'm amazing at this. Like, you think the output is good, and it is not. And so our expertise is more important than ever in that sense.
In this AI era, we need experts. This
Yes.
is for sure, and very well said, Bridget.
Yeah.
I will give the chance. We're going to start with our fast 5 questions. You will have like 10 seconds to reply. In the meantime, I will invite our audience, if they have any question for you, to share, because it is an amazing moment to ask Bridget. She's very experienced. And let's start in the meantime. So, Bridget, what's the weirdest thing you've experienced with AI?
That there is a record for crossing the English Channel on foot. That's a hallucination, but there isn't.
What's one tool or tip you can share that makes you most productive?
Audiobooks while you're in the bubble bath.
Wow. What's the biggest myth people believe when it comes to translation and technology?
That it's one or the other, that it's us or it, and it's not. It's both of us together.
Very well said. What's your favorite word in your native language?
Tolerance.
Wow. And using one word, how would you describe AI?
Whiplash. Because it's going so fast, like I feel like I got whiplash. Sometimes I'm going here, there's something new, there's here. That's what I felt like last year.
So I would like to thank you, Bridget, for making our Talk Fair on Air podcast a learn and fun experience. And Talk Fair on Air is an event hosted by BureauWorks. BureauWorks is a cloud-based translation management system integrating innovative AI translation technology, and the winner of the Process Innovation Challenge at Lockwood 50. If you want to experience pure AI innovation in translation technology, sign up for a free trial using our website. And we can wrap it up now. Bridget, I would like to thank you very much for sharing invaluable insights. Is there anything that you would like to share with our audience to close?
Just stay the course. This is a great industry. We have plenty of work to do. We just have to continue to learn, and everyone's in the same boat. It's not just our industry. So I think Gabriel Fairman's doing a great job of spreading that message. So absolutely love you guys, and thank you so much for inviting me on.
Thank you very much, Bridget. We are on the same boat. Stay tuned for more engaging discussions on the ever-evolving landscape of language and technology. Until next time, remember to embrace the possibilities of AI in translation and always play fair on the AI translation technology chessboard. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.